Rachel Zegler's rise to fame seemed like something straight out of a fairy tale. Born in Hackensack, New Jersey, she first gained attention by posting covers of popular songs on YouTube, where her raw talent caught the eye of casting directors. Her big break came in 2019 when she was selected from over 30,000 hopefuls to star as Maria in Steven Spielberg's West Side Story remake. Her performance was widely praised, and she made history by becoming the youngest actress to ever win a Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy. This early success catapulted her into the spotlight, and Hollywood welcomed her with open arms, touting her as the fresh, diverse face of the future. It was the kind of fairy tale journey that made her a symbol of opportunity and representation in modern cinema. In 2021, Rachel Zegler's career took a significant turn when Disney announced that she would be playing the lead role of Snow White in their live-action remake of the beloved classic. At first, the casting seemed like another milestone in Zegler's storybook Rise to Fame, a young, talented Latina actress taking on the iconic role of a princess, marking a progressive win for Hollywood's diversity initiatives. The news was met with enthusiasm from many who saw it as a fresh and inclusive take on a timeless character. However, not everyone shared this sentiment. Critics and fans of the original Snow White quickly voiced their concerns, arguing that casting Zegler with her Latinx background in a role that had been traditionally depicted as a fair-skinned white princess was a departure from the character's original identity. The backlash was swift and loud, with many questioning whether Disney was prioritizing diversity over staying true to the essence of the original story. What seemed like a win for representation turned into a heated debate about the boundaries of tradition and progress in Hollywood. The tension grew as fans expressed their displeasure, accusing Disney of trying to force diversity into the film for the sake of political correctness. The controversy surrounding the casting of Zegler set the stage for even more challenges ahead. Rachel Zegler's response to the backlash surrounding her casting as Snow White only added fuel to the fire. When questioned about the criticism, Zegler boldly stated, "I'm not going to bleach my skin for this role." While some fans applauded her for standing firm and embracing her identity as a Latina actress, her comment quickly became a point of contention. Critics saw her statement as dismissive and unempathetic toward the fans of the original Snow White who were upset about the character's transformation. Rather than calming the storm, her words seemed to escalate the situation, making her a lightning rod for even more vitriol. Some viewed her confidence as an empowering declaration of self-respect, while others felt it alienated the very people who were nostalgic about the classic film. The comment amplified the already heated debate over the integrity of the character and what it means to stay true to a story's origins. Instead of diffusing the tension, it felt like she was fanning the flames, and her remarks only solidified her position as a controversial figure in Hollywood. Fans who were already skeptical about the casting decision now felt that Zegler was disrespecting a beloved film that had shaped generations of childhoods, making her the face of the backlash. The fallout from Rachel Zegler's comments only grew as the controversy spread across social media, where fans of the original Snow White were vocal about their displeasure. Zegler's remarks about the prince's behavior being stalkerish seemed to strike a particularly nerve with longtime Disney enthusiasts who viewed the criticism as an affront to the history of the character and the film. For many, the original Snow White was a cornerstone of their childhood, and the prince's kiss had become an iconic moment in cinematic history. Zegler's comments felt like an unnecessary attempt to modernize a classic that had already been beloved for generations. Her words seemed to undermine the film's historical context, and in doing so, she inadvertently ignited a culture war about the role of traditional values versus modern interpretations in the entertainment industry. The backlash didn't stop there. Memes mocking Zegler's statement spread quickly, and her image as Snow White became irreversibly tied to the controversy. One viral post sarcastically remarked that if Disney wanted to push progressive ideals so aggressively, they should remake Frozen and call it Chilly Independent Woman, poking fun at Zegler's attempt to modernize the Snow White character into a more feminist figure. As the memes piled up, it became clear that Zegler was no longer just the actress playing Snow White. She had become the symbol of everything critics believed was wrong with Disney's recent trend of remaking animated classics with a more woke agenda. The public response was polarizing. Some applauded Zegler for trying to bring a new, empowered version of Snow White to the screen, while others felt that her approach to the role was disrespectful to the cultural significance of the original movie. Instead of seeing her portrayal of Snow White as an exciting new direction, many fans saw it as an unnecessary and dismissive rewriting of something that had already stood the test of time. In this way, Zegler had unwittingly placed herself at the center of a wider conversation about the direction of modern Hollywood, and whether its emphasis on diversity and social progress was alienating longtime fans of traditional storytelling. As the controversy surrounding Rachel Zegler's Snow White role continued to grow, the backlash surrounding the CGI dwarfs became another flashpoint in the debate over the remake. The decision to use CGI characters instead of hiring actors with dwarfism was meant to address concerns about the outdated and stereotypical portrayal of dwarfs in the original animated film. However, the execution of this idea quickly backfired. Actors with dwarfism felt that the choice was dismissive of their community, denying them valuable career opportunities and further marginalizing them in an industry that already struggled with diverse representation. Peter Dinklage, a well-known advocate for inclusivity, called out Disney for this misstep, saying that it was tone-deaf and regressive, even though the intent was likely the opposite. Zegler, despite her high-profile role, found herself dragged into the storm. Although she wasn't involved in the decision to replace the dwarfs with CGI, her association with the film meant she became a lightning rod for criticism. Her critics now saw her not only as the actress playing Snow White, but as the face of a project that seemed to be mishandling issues of representation at every turn. The backlash spread quickly across social media, and what started as a discussion about Zegler's casting evolved into a broader debate about Hollywood's approach to diversity, representation, and the risks of altering beloved stories for modern sensibilities. At this point, the remake was no longer just about one character or one actress. It became symbolic of everything that some fans felt was wrong with Hollywood's tendency to remake classic films while reinterpreting their core elements to fit contemporary agendas. The internet was flooded with memes mocking Disney's choices, including the backlash over the dwarfs and even suggestions that the entire remake should be scrapped. Some fans argued that if Disney was truly interested in inclusivity, they could have cast actors with dwarfism in the roles of the dwarfs rather than relying on CGI, while others questioned why Disney felt the need to modernize something that was already beloved by so many. For Zegler, the mounting controversies only seemed to reinforce her status as a polarizing figure. Instead of rising above the criticism, she was increasingly seen as part of the problem. In some ways, she had become the scapegoat for a larger conversation about diversity, the responsibility of reinterpreting classic stories, and the role of public figures in shaping these conversations. Every new development in the saga seemed to add more fuel to the fire, and Zegler's connection to a project embroiled in such public controversy only seemed to deepen her involvement in what many viewed as a PR nightmare. As Rachel Zegler continued to express her political views, the fallout became more significant, and the divide between her supporters and critics grew wider. While some applauded her for using her platform to challenge the political landscape and take a stand on important issues, others saw her statements as creating unnecessary divides, especially for someone in a highly visible and family-oriented role. Zegler's position as Snow White, an iconic Disney character, placed her in an extremely sensitive spot where every comment she made could be scrutinized, and her political views became entangled with the public's perception of her portrayal of the character. Zegler's tweet calling Trump supporters a stain on America was a prime example of this conflict. Although she clearly wanted to use her voice to stand against what she viewed as harmful ideologies, her words were received as offensive by many who had supported her career up until that point. As a result, conservative figures and media outlets began attacking Zegler's statements with increasing frequency, arguing that Disney, as a family-friendly brand, should distance itself from such a controversial figure. The backlash from conservative circles gained traction, with Zegler's political views becoming a focal point in broader debates about Hollywood's increasing politicization. The criticism was not just about her personal opinions, but about Disney's apparent endorsement of her views. Disney, known for its wide-reaching appeal across demographics, found itself stuck in a difficult position. On one hand, Zegler's strong stance on social and political issues was seen as part of a modern, progressive Hollywood. On the other hand, it created a rift with the conservative segment of Disney's audience, potentially affecting the brand's overall appeal. For Disney, Zegler's public persona became a source of tension, with some calling for her to be replaced or removed from the Snow White project due to her controversial remarks. In interviews, Zegler tried to defend her right to speak her mind, clarifying that she was not intending to alienate anyone, but simply standing up for her beliefs. However, her defenses were often perceived as overly defensive, which did little to quell the growing storm around her. The more she tried to clarify her position, the more entrenched the divide became, as both her supporters and critics seemed unwilling to back down. The combination of her outspoken political views, the Snow White casting controversy, and the backlash over Disney's decisions created a perfect storm that made Zegler's every move increasingly scrutinized. Whether she was seen as a brave activist or a reckless celebrity, it was clear that her path to stardom had become far more complicated. This saga was no longer just about her portrayal of Snow White. It was about her navigating a Hollywood that seemed increasingly polarized, where public figures had to carefully balance their personal beliefs with the expectations of a global audience. Her fate was now intricately tied to the broader conversation about modern Hollywood, representation, and the power of social media in shaping public perception. The situation continued to escalate as the hashtag number Replace Rachel trended on Twitter, with fans demanding that Disney recast the role of Snow White. Some suggested other actresses who could take on the role, like Lily Collins, while others proposed more outlandish ideas, including animatronic princesses or even a return to the original animated film. This outpouring of frustration was a clear sign that the growing backlash against Zegler had hit a critical point. The backlash was no longer a small group of vocal critics, it had become a full-blown movement to undo the casting decision, with passionate arguments both for and against Zegler's portrayal. For Disney, the situation had become a public relations nightmare. The studio found itself in an impossible position. Recasting Zegler could potentially be seen as giving in to the mob and caving to online outrage, while keeping her in the role risked further alienating a large portion of the audience, especially those who felt that Disney's push for diversity was coming at the cost of respecting classic stories. It was a lose-lose scenario for the company, as either decision would likely lead to significant backlash. In the face of mounting pressure, Disney remained silent on the issue, unwilling to make a public statement about whether or not they would reconsider Zegler's role. Amidst all this, Rachel Zegler continued to defend herself in interviews, attempting to clarify that her comments about Snow White and the original film had been taken out of context. She insisted that she wasn't disrespecting the classic movie, but rather trying to modernize it to appeal to today's audience, especially with its feminist and progressive updates. Unfortunately, her defensive stance only seemed to make matters worse. Instead of winning back critics, her clarifications appeared more as an attempt to cover up or explain away her original remarks, which only fueled further resentment. Her supporters, however, remained steadfast in their belief that Zegler was simply a young actress navigating an incredibly difficult situation. They argued that she was being unfairly vilified for being outspoken about issues that were important to her, and that the backlash was more about the larger cultural divide in Hollywood than about her ability as an actress. Still, the growing number of detractors and the increasingly divisive discourse made it clear that the damage had been done. The film, which had once held the potential to be a major success, was now overshadowed by the ongoing public relations crisis. As the release of Snow White in 2025 loomed on the horizon, all eyes were on the film's fate. If the movie succeeded, it could be a major win for Zegler, silencing her critics and allowing her to move past the controversies. It could also serve as a redemption moment for Disney, proving that they were able to successfully reimagine a classic for modern sensibilities without alienating their core audience. However, if the film failed, Zegler could find herself relegated to Hollywood's long list of could-have-beens, with her career potentially irreparably damaged by the string of controversies surrounding her role. For Disney, the stakes were equally high. The film wasn't just about a single actress or one project, it was a litmus test for how the company would navigate the increasingly treacherous waters of modern cultural debates. Could Disney manage to embrace diversity, inclusivity, and social progress while maintaining its reputation as a brand that appealed to families across the world? Or would it buckle under the pressure of its most vocal critics? The Snow White remake had become about far more than just the fairy tale. It was about the future of Hollywood and the entertainment industry's ability to balance the demands of modern audiences with its long-standing traditions. Rachel Zegler's journey from Hollywood's golden girl to a polarizing figure is a modern-day cautionary tale. It serves as a reminder that fame in the digital age is a double-edged sword. While it can elevate a career to unimaginable heights, it can also tear it down just as quickly. Whether Zegler's downfall is a result of her own actions or simply the unavoidable consequence of being thrust into the spotlight at a time when Hollywood is undergoing massive changes is still up for debate. One thing is certain though, her saga has all the elements of a blockbuster film, though it remains to be seen whether it will have a happy ending. So, what's your take on Rachel Zegler? Is she being unfairly targeted, or has she brought her downfall upon herself? The drama surrounding her has certainly captivated Hollywood, and whether or not it resolves with a redemption arc or a tragic fall, it's a story we'll all be watching unfold. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.